The administration's chief climate negotiator, Todd Stern, was on Capitol Hill today talking to the House Select Committee on Energy Independence and Global Warming about the prospects for a deal in Copenhagen in December. Now, Stern is a State Department official. His title is officially Special Envoy for Climate Change. He told members it is important to the credibility of the United States for the Senate to pass climate legislation, or that it at least be on the way before Obama heads to Copenhagen. Clean Sky's Dan Goldstein was at the hearing. He joins us now from our newsroom. So, Dan, is he saying the Senate must act before December?
Well, he would definitely like to see that, and of course the Obama administration too, and as you heard, Senator John Kerry would, and that would be a grand slam for all three of them if they did get a Senate bill passed, which would give basically Todd Stern a lot of negotiating power going into Copenhagen. He was on Capitol Hill today at the House Select Committee for Energy Independence and Global Warming. That's the special committee that Ed Markey chairs. And he acknowledged that there still is a divide in the U.S. over a unilateral treaty that doesn't include China and India. But he did say, quote, China does not want this deal to unravel. But of course, you remember that when Speaker Pelosi went to China back in March after the House did pass its version of the bill, that gave her a lot of street cred, as it were, and it opened a lot of eyes in China. So he's really saying that if the Senate is able to do the same thing before Copenhagen, it will really strengthen his hand. Here's what he had to say.
I think it would be extremely helpful for the Senate to pass legislation before Copenhagen, and I'm certainly doing everything I can to help make that happen. I think that if the legislation is moving on a good track but isn't passed yet, there will undoubtedly be ways to try to accommodate that in the context of a negotiation, but it would be a lot easier if it was passed.
Now, he called Waxman Markey obviously a very good start, and if you recall, it's a 17% of cuts by 2020 below 2005 levels. And he said that it's probably likely that we're going to see an international agreement, a framework, as it were, of 15 to 30% cuts for Copenhagen. That, he said, would be a good opening.
I think that's a good range, but you know, I think we have to see what they're proposing. I think that's not a bad starting place.
Now, also, he had one Republican, that was James Sensenbrenner of Wisconsin, to talk to, and he basically tried to allay his concerns about intellectual property sharing under any agreement in Copenhagen, saying that if there's technology that's going to be shared, there's still going to be intellectual property rights. But Stern made one really good point, I thought, was saying that the U.S. might be pushing China to the table now when it comes to emissions cuts, but we're probably going to be chasing, the U.S. that is probably going to be chasing China later on when it comes to developing alternative technologies. If you recall, China already has a pretty big lead when it comes to things like lithium-ion batteries driven by their consumer electronics industry. Warren Buffett, as you know, is a big investor in BYD, and you got to remember that even in this global recession here, China's economy is still going great guns, and we've still got negative growth. So that may come to pass, Susan.
Dan Goldstein, thank you.